Hello, everybody. Shalom. Hope everybody's doing all right. Oh, let me turn that sound off. I've got an echo. That's better. So, yeah, very hot here. I don't know how it is where you guys are, but been a really hot week. Lovely blue skies. No chemtrails. One sun. So there's that. I don't know what's going on. Kind of crazy, really. It's kind of different in different parts of the world, isn't it? So, oop, nearly knocked my light over. Yeah, so that was a little bit of a change of tune at the beginning there. Hope everybody liked that. Bob Marley, early Bob Marley and the Wailers. Kind of spiritual stuff. Trying to find a little bit of mixture. You know, maybe some people haven't heard that sort of stuff before, so there's a whole load of stuff that I haven't heard anyway. And if people don't show it to other people, they don't ever get to hear it. So Whether they give me a copyright strike or not, I don't care. Because I'm listening to the music while I'm doing a video. That's what I'm going to say anyway. So, pink clouds. Pink clouds and cold in Colorado. Oh, I wish I was in Colorado. Nice scenery there, isn't there? T. Fisher. So, this one here, this video we're doing today is about the letter TheT, which is number 9 in the Paleo-Hebrew letter alphabet, if you like. And as you can see, it's kind of a basic one, this one, because without trying to sort of go off in various different directions with words that have this letter in it, I've tried to keep it specifically to what it actually means, really. As far as I can see anyway. I might be completely wrong, but I can only show what I find, and it's up to everybody to get what they can get from it, and hopefully it all sort of makes sense. But so here we go, we'll get underway. Up in the right hand side we have the, as is usual, we have the English Western World American phonetic and written word of th, or letter of th, th. That's the sound it has, like a th, like a thud, rather than the T at the end, the tau, which is more of a T sound, like the drink tea. This one is a th sound. This next letter is the Judaic, Jewish, Hebrew, modern Hebrew version of it, which is called the TET. They've kind of dropped the H and give it the TET name. Next to that we have the Latin version, or the Roman, whatever people want to distinguish it as, but that's pretty much Latin, I think. And as you can see, it sort of goes back up from the late one to the early one, which is basically just a straightforward circle, or the circle with a dot in it. The Greek one kind of resembles the Roman, because you have to remember, back in history, these civilizations were kind of trading and fighting and mingling amongst themselves. So this is how all this language kind of spread around the whole Mediterranean world back in the day. So the Greek one that's the letter theta, or theta, or however you want to pronounce that one. But as you can see, it goes from the more sort of classical, ornate, fancy Greek way of doing things to the more simplified, which is kind of like the Roman one. And then it gets back to the one that we're after, which is this one, kind of like the sights on a gun, if you like. Anybody who's used to looking down the barrel of a gun, or a rifle more specifically, will know that. I know you get loads of fancy different sights nowadays, but this is basically like a crosshair. So it's like a target, if you like, and it's also represents kind of like the cross as well, and as well as the tau, the letter at the end of the 22 letters, describes the cross as well, as we've sort of spoke about that, but we haven't quite covered that yet, but we will do when we get there. Next to it is the Samaritan version, the Aramaic script type of lettering runs from about here to here, and as you can see, it's kind of a bit different to what the Greeks and the Romans had, but when you get over to the Paleo, you'll see how it kinds of could have been easily misdrawn or kind of drawn differently. And it kind of resembles the 6, as you can see by the Nabatean one and the Palmyrian one. Excuse me. It's yeah, it looks very much like a 6. If 6 was 9 and all that kind of stuff, who knows? Maybe it was, eh? I don't know. Then you get to the Aramaic, which is kind of like the Samaritan one, but more of a rounded sort of drawn picture than the straight-lined version over here. Then it goes back in time. It gets to about 500 before the Messiah, where it is back to that cross-haired target looking symbol. It goes back to about 1500 BC, before the Messiah, but it's kind of tilted over a bit. As we've seen before, there's nothing specifically meant by whether they're sort of directly vertical and horizontal with the lines. It kind of just depends who's actually drawn the picture and what picture you're actually looking at. But it does get a little bit involved when you see a lot of symbols together and written sort of sentences. It gets a bit confusing, but once you know what the symbol is, then you can kind of pick it out a bit easier. So moving along, we've got the Phoenician one here, which kind of looks like the Roman and the Greek one, but without it being joined up at the top. Whether that was a printing error back in the day or not, obviously not my one, because I've just drawn it from what I find in the books and things that I'm looking at online, to give you the variation of what we're actually looking at. So, don't take my drawings as gospel, if you like, to use that word, but I'm not a very good drawer, or not nowadays, don't practice enough. But anyway, yeah, the Phoenician one has the 2 crosshairs again, going back to about 1500, and the Canaanite also has those. Bearing in mind the Canaanite, the Phoenician, the Moabite and the Hebrew were all roughly in the same area, as well as these ones as well, but obviously these are from later in history. These are getting back to the crucial sort of stuff that we need to get to. So yeah, the Canaanite one has the vertical one and the sort of tilted one, And it also has this variation, which I found as well, which is kind of interesting. It has just a plain circle, but with like a cross sticking out the side of it. Thought that was kind of interesting. Looks a bit like an Egyptian symbol for like a musical instrument, like a lute or something like that, but don't know much about that symbol itself, because I only found a couple of examples where it actually looked like that. And you can see over here on the paleo one, it has the same kind of parts to it, but kind of a different take on it. It's got the cross on the inside. So maybe there is something more to that. I have to try and see if I can discover a bit more. But anyway, back to finish up here with the Paleo ancient Semitic Hebrew version of it. Back to sort of day one, or ground zero, start of it. Goes back to that, which is the crossed-haired target looking symbol at about 1500 BC, or before the Messiah, and goes back to their start of their civilization, if you like, or culture and history. And just to round that lot up, the Hebrew side of things, the actual meaning of the crossed-haired looking symbol, it means a container or a basket, something that you collect things in or put things in. In essence, the bringing together of things. I've spoke about this before, but you can imagine gathering produce or fruit or something. You gather it all in a basket, and you put all the things that you collect in that basket, and it holds them together and keeps them protected or safe from falling out of that basket. And it was used by the Hebrew people, baskets, to put their precious belongings in, whether it was corn, whether it was different items of clothing or water even, was collected in vessels, and whether because they had clay ones and they had wicker ones, so obviously you could collect like a scoop of grain, things from the field, food for the animals, anything like that would have been put into a basket or container of some fashion or other, which were made of either clay or wicker, like reed, sort of rush sort of made things, depending on where they were actually at the time when they wanted to make something. So that's pretty much what I've discovered on the TheT as a symbol. So when you look at the Egyptian side of things, which, as we know, was running at the same time as the Hebrews back in the days of Moses and everything else like that, their hieroglyph for a city or a town is this one. The like has a phonetic sound of the word nut, which you've heard that one before, or those of you who haven't. Nut is like the goddess, I think, or the god for the heavens. So it like for those of you who have seen it, you'll know what I mean. It's like the outstretched body of a woman, I believe it is, a female figure arching over the earth, forming the heavens, and her name is Nut, which coincidentally is like she's containing everything under her frame within the enclosed area that's she's covering over, like she's containing everything under her, the same way as this symbol that they had, which represents a city or a town. And as most of us probably know, unfortunately, anybody who lives in a city or a town, once you get into a city or a town, it everything kind of gets more in your face and up front and kind of impersonal nowadays, the way things are going anyway. There's some crazy stuff on YouTube at the minute. I don't know whether you've seen it, but it's really comes down to the fact that the Hebrews were in the wilderness and basically were a nomadic, wandering shepherd, cattle grazing peoples. So to be in a city or a town, it's kind of like a country boy or country girl moving to New York or somewhere like that, London, Paris, whatever, Rome even. So yeah, it's like you're actually have the sensation of feeling like a alien in your own country, if you like, because it's totally sets your whole body and your whole vibe is kind of out of balance, out of kilter. But obviously to the Egyptians, who were all for that, let's make bricks, let's build things, let's construct statues and ornaments and big temples and things like that to all their beliefs that they held. To the poor old Hebrews, it must have been like being on a different planet. No wonder they wanted to get out, but as we know, once you get into the cities, you've all got the conveniences of everything that a city brings. And, like the Walmarts, the superstores, the big shopping malls, everything that people supposedly need is at hand. And when you go camping, it's like everybody heads off to the wilds for a fortnight's vacation or something, to the wilds of nowhere, with all the provisions and everything that they can ram in the back and on top of a car, like National Lampoon's Vacation. And because they just have to have everything. I don't know whether any of you go camping now, but when you go camping, people like take every convenience of home camping. wardrobes, showers, unless you've got a fancy RV or something like that, then it's kind of different because it's all built in. But camping is supposedly to get back to nature, but some people just, like the Hebrews back in the day in Exodus, when they were coming out of all this town civilization stuff, they still wanted to go back because of all that convenience. Because they lacked, at the beginning, they lacked the faith to trust in their most high Elohim to supply their needs. They knew they were heading in the desert, and there wasn't any supplies of this, that, or the other. So it's kind of like a tough crunch time decision to have to make. The way it would be today when things get a bit more advanced, shall I say. Yeah, grandma on the top of the car, T. Fisher, that's funny. Or dog tied to the bumper. So, anybody who's seen that film know what I'm talking about. Kind of funny, Chevy Chase. Don't know where he's gone now. Probably in a bunker somewhere. Probably somebody's kind of got him safe or got him plugged into some circuitry, waiting to bring him back in 2030 or something. So, yeah, I'm rambling again. So, yeah, this is the picture for a city or a town. And then down here, I thought this was kind of relevant as well. You have the symbol here with the crown on the top of it, this one and this one. The red one is for Lower Egypt, so that's more towards the Mediterranean, the Delta. This was the crown that the king of that area would have had on his head. And the white one, which is the crown of Upper Egypt, so the Ethiopian, African, Nubian end, he would have had this crown. But when they had like one ruling pharaoh or dynasty that ruled both, they had the one at the bottom here, which was like a merging of the two crowns together. And obviously underneath their head they would have had all the other ornaments and artifacts that they would have had on their head, the serpent thing and the necklaces and all that, Ankh symbols and everything. Pretty much they're as into man and his do what thou wilt power drive as we are in parts of the world today. So that's about it for the Egyptian part of this TheT story. I've just got a couple of words over here which may sort of be of interest, I thought, which this one here, number H2918, which is the Hebrew word for village or like community, something that's brought together, like a converging or a bringing together of people. And that's comprised of the TheT symbol here, which is the container, the Yod, which is the arm, the forearm, which is the actions, and the Resh, which is the mind, the control of the mind, or the government of the person, because mentis is the of the mind, and governe is what governs the mind. So that's why I've put this mind control thing is, because it's basically what all these corrupt governments are doing with their mind control games. But basically the Resh was the original picture for the control of your mind. So all of those together create the word thua, thua, or thea, however you want to pronounce the vowels in between. Normally they're an A, but depending on who's saying it and who's reading it and where you're from, the pronunciation can come out different. But basically it's a word made up of these three symbols for the word village, which ties in with city or town for the Egyptian. Remember, this is Hebrew, Egyptian and Hebrew. So I'm just trying to give everybody the connection between the two so that you can see how these would have been crossed over between the two cultures at the time. And the next one we have down here is, I thought of interest, number H4307, which is the symbol again for TheT, which means the containing part, you know, the container or the bringing together of something. And the Resh again, same as this one, which is the controlled mind or the mind control. So to contain a controlled mind, that is the word for a prison or a building, or a building that is used to contain somebody, like a prison. And pretty much those people who are unfortunate to, you know, through bad health or ill health or age or something like that. You know, I know a lot of elderly people and people with different problems and disabilities in their life, and you know, they talk to me and say, you know, it is like feeling of being a prisoner in your own home. So even though we can feel like prisoners when we're able-bodied and free to do what we want to do, we still like feel tied to the home and the house and jobs to do at the weekend, etc., etc. So pretty much that's about it for that, I think. Don't think I've got anything else. So hopefully you all found this of some interest. I'm just going to scroll back through the chat and see if anybody's got any questions. I'll go back to the beginning. And what's everybody talking about? So, a few shout outs to everybody. We've got Tommy, Rebecca, of course. Rebecca with a wrench. A spanner. Finally figured it out how to get that sorted, so that's good. Just in case we do get any visiting trolls. T. Fisher. So thanks everybody for coming out and seeing what we've got. The next one, I believe, is, what's the next letter? believe it's iron, I think. Let me have a look. Oh, just knocked the table. What have we got here in my notes? Oh, it's Yod. It's the arm. The arm for actions. That's the next letter in the series. So I'll be hopefully getting that together sometime this week. And hopefully everybody will come along and check that out. So what's everybody talking about? Let's see what's going on. Let's scroll down to the bottom of the chat. Oh, being held for review. I never done a thing, just popped up on screen. I don't know. Oh yeah, I think what that is, Rebecca, that does that sometimes because there's like a word that triggers it to do that. So it's like a some sort of an algorithm that it does automatically. I've noticed that before in the live shows that Casey has, and I know I haven't threw my spanner at anybody, so I think it just does it automatically. Nothing to worry about, don't think. Yeah, I've sorted it, Rebecca. So I just clicked on. It has like show or hide, doesn't it? So I clicked on show because it didn't seem to be a bad comment to me. So I don't know whether I'm the only one who can do that, like the person doing the video, or whether you guys that have the wrenches can do it as well. I'm not sure. But yeah, so what else can we talk about? What's Casey? I see Casey was live earlier on, wasn't he? And did a nice video today. And then the one on the volcano. I haven't quite watched all the volcano one yet about Hawaii, but that seems to be getting crazy out there, doesn't it? I don't know whether everybody's seen the one about the FEMA barges being sent to Hawaii. Has anybody seen that? I don't know whether that's right or not, but man, it seems to be. They seem to be just sort of like any little problem around the US somewhere. They seem to try these little government intervened attempts to do something which doesn't end very good for the people, does it? So, what else has been happening? I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to find a nice little bit of music from one of my subscribers. Not subscribe. Well, actually, they are a subscriber of mine, I think, but they're quite busy, so they don't really seem to get much time to come along onto my shows. But This is one called, where are we? What one should I pick? This one will do. This is Hadara Bhatia, and she's listed on my channel, and she does some really pleasant kind of spiritual music. So we'll round it off with this, and like I say, thanks everybody for coming along and watching, and all praise to the Most High for his gifts and blessings, and for keeping us walking in the righteous walk that we are all trying to walk, hopefully. And we'll see you all next time, and I'll leave you with this playing. Shalom.
Your love comforts me. Your breath breathes for me. Hallelujah. You are healing me. There is healing in your wings. There is healing in your wings. Your love heals me and I sing. There is healing in your wings. You're healing me. You're healing me. I fear your name. Yahuwah, you are still the same. Your word remains. Son of righteousness ordained, Messiah reign. We see the prophecies so plain. You're healing our pain, and you're coming back again. You are healing me. Your love comforts me. Your breath breathes for me. Hallelujah. You are healing me. There is healing in your wings. There is healing in your wings. Your love heals me and I sing. There is healing in your wings. You're healing me. You're healing me. Shalom everyone, it's Hadara. I need some more time to finish the next album. Yeah, it's still healing me. And our nation needs healing, but our people as individuals must heal first. We can't do this work without letting God. So I need more time to finish the next album, and I'm gonna take as long as it takes. And I expect God to complete the work that He started in me. I think we should all expect Yah to complete the work that He began in us, because He said He would. So, you may not see me for a while, but you'll see me again. There is healing in your wings. There is healing in your wings. Your love heals me and I sing. There is healing in your wings. You're healing me. You're healing me. Get more music and motivation for your spiritual journey at setapartheart.com.